In the 20th century alone, most of the peninsula of Istria was governed by 4 different states: the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Kingdom of Italy, the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, and, as of 1991, the Republic of Croatia. During World War II, it was part of Italy. With the capitulation of Italy and the fall of fascism in 1943, Istria, a borderland and a region of high ethnic diversity, once again became a subject of negotiations. The Paris Peace Treaties of 1947 handed the peninsula to Yugoslavia. For a short period, though, it was also divided into Zone A, which was controlled by the Allies, and Zone B, which was part of the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. That came to an end when Italy, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, and Yugoslavia signed a Memorandum of Understanding in London in 1954. The attitude of the newly established political authorities towards the indigenous Italians in Istria was one of strong suspicion. This hostility was driven by ideology and nationalism. Treated as foreigners in their own country, itself now Slavic, they were often seen as leftovers of the previous, brief Italian rule in Istria, which had lasted from 1920 to 1943 and had become the fascist regime in its later phase. Indeed, many of the Italian Istrians were considered to be fascists. Unlike the extensive Slavic population, they were often members of the upper class, and as such, they were dismissed, considered to be part of the bourgeoisie, the class that the new, communist-oriented authorities were trying to disempower. The threats, humiliations, and even assassinations occasionally inflicted on the Italians in the immediate post-war period frightened their community. Their social, religious, and cultural life was changing immensely, just as it was for everyone in Istria. As a result, many of the inhabitants, not only those who identified as Italian, but also numerous Istrians of Slavic origin, were forced to leave in search of a better life. Their destinations were mainly Italy, the USA, and Australia. Many of the people who opted to emigrate to Italy spent years in refugee camps throughout that country, waiting for job opportunities. Adapting to their new social and cultural realities was difficult because they were often regarded as second-class Italians or even fascists, thanks to their decision to leave communist Yugoslavia. The exodus of over 200,000 people left Istria partly depopulated and bereft of the cultural traditions of the semi-urban and urban populations. A percentage of Italian Istrians did remain, though. Their life wasn't easy either, since they were objects of suspicion not only to the new authorities, but also to the Italian Istrians who'd left.
Throughout several months, we endeavored to collect 25 interviews. It was a little bit challenging since we were working on those interviews during pandemic situation. So we haven't reached as many people as we wanted, but then we compensated a part of that with interviews online. But basically, we really got moving testimonies, which opened a whole lot of new questions, also targeting topics related to those Italians who stayed. We were mainly concentrated on those who left Istria after the Second World War, but Italians who stayed suddenly popped up as a very relevant group, since they were in a special position exactly because they have stayed in Istria, in the then Yugoslavia, later Croatia. So this is a new perspective that opened for us, but also have to admit that we as ethnographers, as anthropologists in the Ethnographic Museum of Istria were somehow oriented towards topics tied to heritage And then suddenly discovering so many dramatic destinies in those stories was a position that we maybe haven't been so used to. And we have to reflect on everything that we have heard so far, and not only reflect, but also to live through everything we have experienced as personalities, because those moving stories reached us not only as professionals, but also as private people.